The wind howled outside, rattling the windows of the cabin as I sat alone, staring at the walls. 7 days. No phone, no internet, no voices but my own thoughts. I thought I'd lose my mind. I'd always been the guy who needed noise. Music blaring, notifications pinging, conversations buzzing. Silence? That was for monks or weirdos, not me. But there I was, 28 years old, burned out. My life a blur of deadlines, parties, and endless scrolling. I'd hit a wall. My friends stopped calling. My girlfriend left, and I couldn't remember the last time I felt anything. So I did something drastic. I packed a bag, drove to a remote cabin in the mountains, and swore off all distractions for a week. No screens, no people, just me and the void. What I found in that silence changed everything. It started with panic. Day 1, I paced the cabin like a caged animal. My hands twitched, reaching for a phone that wasn't there. I'd catch myself talking out loud, arguing with nobody. The quiet was suffocating, like a weight pressing on my chest. I'd spent years drowning it out with Netflix marathons and group chats, but now there was no escape. My thoughts screamed, regrets, fears, insecurities I'd buried under layers of noise. I remembered the fight with my dad, the one where he said I was wasting my life. I saw my ex's face, her eyes cold as she walked away. I relived every moment I'd chosen a screen over a real connection. By day 2, I was crying on the floor, overwhelmed by the realization that I'd been running from myself for years, but something shifted. On day 3, I stopped fighting the silence. I sat by the window, watching snowflakes drift, and for the first time in forever, I noticed details. The way the light caught the frost, the rhythm of my own breathing. I started journaling, scribbling thoughts I didn't even know I had. I wrote about the time I was 15, dreaming of traveling the world before I got sucked into the grind of adulthood. I wrote about the guilt of ignoring my mom's calls because I was too busy doom scrolling. The silence wasn't just empty anymore. It was a mirror, forcing me to see who I'd become and who I wanted to be. By day 5, I felt lighter. I walked through the woods, the crunch of snow under my boots the only sound. I didn't need music to fill the gaps. I didn't need validation from a like or a text. I was enough. The silence showed me how much noise I'd let define me, how I'd let algorithms and notifications dictate my mood, my time, my life. I'd been addicted to distraction, chasing a high that never lasted. But in those quiet moments, I found clarity. I realized I'd been living on autopilot, numbing myself to avoid the hard questions. Was I happy? Was I proud of my life? The answers hurt, but they woke me up. Those 7 days weren't just a break, they were a reckoning. I came back different, calmer, sharper, like I'd hit a reset button on my soul. I'd spent years afraid of silence, thinking it would expose my flaws. Instead, it showed me my strength. It taught me that the answers I'd been searching for in likes, followers, and late-night binges were inside me all along. I just had to stop running long enough to listen. The cabin door creaked shut behind me as I returned to the real world, my mind buzzing with the clarity I'd found in those 7 days. But clarity alone doesn't fix a life. I was still the guy who'd spent 10 hours a day glued to screens, who'd lost friends to apathy and relationships to distraction. The silence had shown me the truth, but now I had to act on it. I couldn't go back to the noise, the endless cycle of notifications and numbness. So, I built a plan, a way to harness the power of silence and make it part of my life. It wasn't easy, and I stumbled plenty, but I found steps that worked. Steps anyone can take to reclaim their time, their focus, their soul. First, I set boundaries with my devices. My phone used to be an extension of my hand, always buzzing, always demanding. I'd check it 200 times a day. Texts, emails, X posts, you name it. Studies say the average person spends 4 hours daily on their phone, but I was way past that. So, I turned off notifications, all of them. No more dings for likes or emails. I used an app called Freedom to block social media during work hours. At night, I left my phone in another room, far from my bed. The first week was brutal. My brain craved the dopamine hit of a new message. But by week 2, I felt free. I was sleeping better, dreaming more. I gained 3 extra hours a day, time I didn't even know I'd been losing. Next, I carved out deliberate moments of silence. I didn't have a cabin in the mountains anymore, but I could create pockets of quiet in my daily life. I started with 10 minutes each morning, sitting on my balcony with a coffee. No music, no podcasts, just me and my thoughts. I'd focus on my breathing, letting my mind wander without judgment. Sometimes I'd journal, scribbling whatever came up, good or bad. Research backs this up. Studies from Harvard show mindfulness practices like this reduce stress by 30 and boost focus. For me, those 10 minutes became sacred. They grounded me, helped me process the chaos of life without a screen to numb it. Then, I reconnected with the real world. Silence taught me how much I'd isolated myself, even in a crowd. I'd been at parties, scrolling instead of talking. So, I made rules. No phone at meals, no screens during conversations. I called my mom every Sunday. No excuses. I invited friends for coffee, not group chats. One friend, Jake, told me he felt like he'd gotten me back after years of me being distant. That hit hard. I also started hiking weekly, no earbuds, just the sound of wind and birds. Nature became my reset button, like the cabin but closer to home. I noticed details again, the smell of pine, the way light filters through leaves. My anxiety, which used to spike daily, dropped noticeably. I was present. The benefits piled up fast. Before, I'd waste hours on X, comparing my life to strangers' highlight reels. Now I was reading 15 books in 6 months, from Stoic philosophy to gritty memoirs. I started a side hustle, designing websites, and made $4,000 in 3 months because I had the focus to actually work. My relationships deepened. My sister said I was less distracted, more me. Even my health improved. I lost 10 pounds just from being more active, less glued to my couch. The silence didn't just give me time, it gave me purpose. I was no longer reacting to life. I was shaping it. It wasn't perfect. Some days I'd slip, binge watching YouTube or sneaking my phone into bed, but the difference was I noticed. The silence had trained me to catch myself, to question why I was reaching for noise. Was I bored? Stressed? Avoiding something? That awareness was everything. It let me course correct step by step toward a life that felt intentional. The power of silence isn't about becoming a monk or ditching your phone forever. It's about creating space to hear yourself think, to choose what matters. For me, it was the difference between surviving and living. I stepped out of that cabin a year ago, but the silence I found there still echoes in my life. It's not just a memory, it's a tool, a weapon against the chaos that tries to pull me back. I'm not perfect. I still get sucked into a TikTok spiral sometimes, still feel the itch to check my phone when life gets heavy. But now I know what's possible when I choose quiet over noise, presence over distraction. I've seen my life transform. Deeper conversations with friends, a side hustle that's growing, a mind that feels like mine again. And if I can do it, someone who once lived for likes and notifications, so can you. The power of silence isn't reserved for hermits or gurus. It's for anyone willing to pause, to listen, to take back control. So here's my challenge to you. Try it. Start small. Turn off your notifications for one day. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. No phone, no music, just you. Feel the discomfort, the itch, the thoughts you've been drowning out. Write them down if you can. Take a walk without earbuds. Notice the world, the rustle of leaves, the rhythm of your steps. Reach out to someone you've neglected, not with a text, but a call, a real conversation. You don't need a cabin in the woods to find what I found. You just need the courage to face the quiet. Studies show even 10 minutes of mindfulness a day can cut anxiety by 25%, boost productivity, even improve your sleep. I'm living proof. Those small moments of silence gave me back 20 hours a week, hours I now spend living, not scrolling. What could you do with that kind of time? Maybe you'd finally start that project you've been dreaming about, writing a book, learning a skill, building something real. Maybe you'd reconnect with someone who matters or rediscover who you are when the world isn't shouting at you. The benefits are tangible. I've saved $2,000 by cutting mindless online shopping, read 20 books that reshaped my thinking, and rebuilt bonds I thought were lost. But it starts with action, with choosing to step away from the noise. You don't have to go cold turkey like I did, but you do have to start, right now, because every second you spend lost in a screen is a second stolen from the life you could be living. So hit that subscribe button if you're ready to take control, to find out what silence can teach you. Drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the one thing you'd do with an extra hour every day? What's stopping you from starting right now? Don't wait for a crisis to wake you up like I did. The world is loud, but your mind doesn't have to be. Silence isn't empty. It's where you find yourself. Take that first step. Turn off the noise. Listen. You'll be amazed at what you hear.